I went live for 2 years straight, barely missing a day. Every day without fail, I'd pull out my phone, open up the Facebook app, and I would click go live. Now, the first 10 to 15 videos, I overplanned and they all freaking failed miserably. And the next about, I'd say 100 to 150 videos, minimally planned, just had the bullet points listed out and went live and spoke from the heart. And week by week, I started getting more engagement on the videos. My audience started to grow. My skills got better. I started to find my voice throughout this process. And I started to have my inbox being filled with people asking me questions about my videos, asking for information about my programs. And I started to fill up my client roster. And within about 8 to 9 months, business was booming. We had generated over 6 figures in revenue, and all from just me pulling out my phone and spitting out some content. And it's not as easy as I just made it sound. There was something that I was unknowingly doing at the time, which I know now, and I'm about to share it with you. More so that I was saying that we're making it to where my content was so damn effective. And I want to give that to you here today. Now, I'm going to be sharing my screen kind of on and off, so I'm going to show some graphics with you here in just a moment. I want to fast forward to today. After about doing this now for 5 years, creating content, we've signed hundreds of clients for online programs, and I've now helped clients collectively generate thousands of clients for their fitness, health coaching businesses, and have generated thousands of leads through this content process. I've cracked the code, especially right now in 2023, on what's working and what's not. And I want to give to you the exact content roadmap that we've used to be able to generate a lot of leads and a lot of clients, in hopes that you can apply some of these principles and some of these strategies to your current business now to start seeing better results. Now, the problem that a lot of coaches run into right now is their inbound lead flow is very inconsistent, right? And let's just face the facts. It's getting harder and harder to attract new clients online, right? Coaches are getting forced into doing tons of like these outbound DM strategies, whether it's cold DMs or liking anybody that likes or hearts their stuff. They're out there chasing, or they're chasing, you know what I'm saying? And it just becomes exhausting, right? They're posting content like crazy, and they're still left with unpredictable income. And I know I was certainly there for quite a while in my business a few years back, until I was able to figure out some of this stuff. And it is a shitty feeling, and it definitely leads to burnout. Like, I remember a time, about 3-4 years ago when we were doing okay, right? But I felt like throwing in the towel. I felt like, more so, better put, jumping off a freaking bridge, because it was terrible, right? And we were actually doing about 20-30K per month, which is like pretty good. But it was miserable, just constantly chasing leads and just being on this content hamster wheel, and it sucked, right? And honestly, it's not entirely, I would say, a lot of coaches' fault. And I know, like, success is 100% our responsibility, right? And I'm for that for sure. But the truth is, the traditional content marketing methods that have been being taught for the past decade, it worked really good for the earlier days in online marketing, right? Like things like posting workouts or inspirational quotes, or the random spray and pray advice you're trying to give your audience, right? Or, stuck in this content commodity trap where it's just like, we feel like just giving value is the only way to get clients, and it leaves us stuck to chasing, or really DMing 50 to 100 strangers hoping to book calls. These are the old outdated tactics that they don't really work well in our newer digital economy that we're in today. There's a lot of people out there doing the same things, and so it just doesn't work as well, right? And then I even see people wasting a lot of, especially newer coaches and newer business owners, wasting a ton of time on reels that just attract these like cheap dopamine, and I'll use quotes here, this cheap dopamine leads that are never going to really buy any of their, medium to higher ticket programs anyway. Unless you're a business owner or coach that's selling something like super low ticket, perhaps it could work. But you're going to do much better getting people into your long form content, which we'll drive into, right? So to break free from this old these outdated tactics, and to actually stand out to your audience, to stand out to the person that you're trying to serve, then you're going to have to do things a little bit different. You must shift your focus to what we call conversion content. We're going to talk about a couple different content angles, and I'm going to literally just lay out exactly what we do from a content perspective. But just understand that the type of content that you need to be able to put out is both helpful to your audience and B, gets them interested in your help. Simple as that. It's got to be helpful and it's got to create some demand and get them interested in what you're doing, right? Because when you know what words to say and you say those words in a way that commands attention and influences your reader or your viewer, if it's a video, to take action, then you are going to have content that's so damn effective that it's going to drive leads. It's going to drive people who are interested in your stuff. You're going to have people, just like I did, and this is kind of like the secret, if you will, and I'm using quotes here around secret, but it's the secret, if you will, to being able to get people interested, whether they're reaching out, asking you stuff about your video, they want more depth, they want more information, or they're just like, hey, your freaking stuff is so good, how do I work with you, right? It all comes from the words that we say and knowing how to take the words that we say and again say them in a way that commands attention and that gets our that shifts the perspective in our audience and gets them to see things a different way. This is what moves the needle, right? And so you got to understand this, and we'll dive into the strategies. I know that's probably what you're waiting for, but you got to understand this is that human psychology and the way people make buying decisions hasn't changed at all. Like that, I don't think it'll ever change. Maybe it will, I don't know, but I highly doubt it. But the way content is consumed has changed, and it will continue to change throughout time. So this is a very valuable skill to develop, and this is what will make you in demand. This is what will make you stand out and become in demand in your niche or your sub niche. So let's get into the strategy. All right. So two things, you can write these down. The main purpose of your content is twofold. It's to generate conversations and build brand loyalty, right? You're going to need to do both. You can't just, like the old school kind of content strategies that people taught, there's just buy or die, right? It's just like whether people run ads or they're doing organic content, it's just like you get the leads on there, and if they don't buy from you, you shove them on a list and they're dead to you if they don't buy, right? And that's old school way of thinking. This day and age, you got to also use content, yes, to generate conversations or send people to your sales page, right? Get them into your sales process. But you also got to do it in a way that builds brand loyalty, right? You've got to be able to have a brand that is going to be around for a while, that people can come to know, love, and enjoy. And this is all going to come through your content, right? And so I want to enter, the first step here is I want to be able to give you the 4 types of content that you've got to post on a regular basis. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to break down into my exact posting schedule and how we do this, on a week to week, month to month basis so that you could see how you can implement this into your business yourself. And so the content, there's 4 types of content. I'm going to share my screen. So I call this the unlimited content matrix. So the 4 buckets of content are going to be connection, right? Connection content is where you are sharing things that are more value driven, that are speaking to the core identities of your audience. These are going to be things like lifestyle, your values, beliefs. This is going to be maybe things that you stand adamantly for or things that you stand adamantly against. They're more value driven. This is what attracts people to you and repels the wrong kind of clients away. Does this make sense? So connection content is absolutely key, and we'll dive a little bit more deeper into this in a second. The second bucket over here is influence content. Influence content, we also call this mob content, which stands for mistakes, objections, and beliefs. This is where you're going to be talking about, things that your audience is commonly doing that are keeping them stuck, right? This is going to be content where you help them see things from a new perspective. You take the limiting beliefs or the mistakes and the actions that are taking that aren't leading them to where they want to be, and you help to discredit those things, right? You dismantle those thoughts, and you help to plant the seed of possibility. You start to plant the seed of truth to them, right? And again, I'll share some examples and stuff of how we do this, but it's really powerful content to be able to put into the mix. And then the third type of content is going to be what we call coach content. Coach content, or another way to put this, is more authority content. This is more teach-based, kind of like what I'm doing today. I think this is more traditional. This is what people, I think, especially as coaches, feel more comfortable doing, where you're sharing more how-to or what to do type stuff, right? And then the fourth type of content is going to be results-based content. Results content is where you're showing proof, to where you're maybe showing some behind the scenes, right? Whether it's case studies or your own results, right? You're sharing some kind of proof so that people understand, and there's some kind of hope. They see there's a possibility for them, and they start to know, like, and trust your brand because they see what you're doing is producing, right? So those are the 4 types of content that you definitely want to have. So let's go ahead and break these down into like how you can actually create a content strategy and plan from these things. So there's four success principles that you've got to get down. Okay. Principle number one when it comes to creating strategic content. So if we want to take those 4 buckets and create a strategy out of them, and by the way, here's the best way to think about like content. Content is a lot like nutrition. It's a lot like food, right? Content is the food. And the different types of content are kind of like carbs, fats, and protein. I know there's 4, but hear me out for this, right? It's kind of like carbs, fats, and protein. Now, if you just eat too many carbs and not enough protein or fat, you're probably not going to get the best results, right? The same way if you ate just too much protein or too much fats and not enough carbs or protein, you're not going to get the best results. So you've got to have a nice balance of all of them. And there's going to be different kind of percentages, and I'll share with you in a second, depending on what your goals are in your business. But the first principle here, with that being said, is that your brand messaging, the way you position your brand, which in the simplistic terms, the words that you use in your content and in your marketing, whether it's your content or your landing pages or whatever, that's the 5% that produces 95% of your results. Going back to the nutrition analogy I just used, your brand's messaging, aka the words that you use in your content and in your marketing, are like the calories to the actual meal plan, right? So the content plan is like the meal plan. Your messaging, right? The words that you use, that's the calories. And so if the calories are off, the meal plan is not going to work, right? It's like somebody eating 900 calories to try to lose weight of a like really good food. They're still not going to get the desired result because they're eating too little, or they could be eating too much. And so your messaging, again, the words that you use are more important than anything, because if this is not on point, you're just not going to win. Now, I've done full trainings on this. I can link up the trainings. The recent training that I did on my marketing plan that took me from 5 to 30K per month in my online fitness business. In that training, I go a little bit more into depth around messaging. We're not going to be able to go into that today, so make sure to click if you want to be able to dive more into that. So principle number 2 is going to be creating content sequences. Content sequences. This is the newer way to do content. It's to actually sequence your content out so you're leading your audience to a certain destination versus just randomly posting and praying and hoping people see your stuff, hoping people respond to your call to actions. We want to just take control. We want to create sequences of content to where you know, like, Monday I'm going to post this, Tuesday is going to be this, Wednesday. And it's like strategic and leading somebody somewhere. You know, much like a workout sequence, right? You can do like arm day, chest day, leg day, back day, whatever day, you know, or you can say, I'm going to do push day, pull day, leg day, or you could do full body day a couple times a week, right? All of those things, all of those different sequences of workouts, they can get the same results, right? Content's the same way. We just want to sequence it together so that we know that we're keeping it balanced and that we're actually leading people to a desired destination. All right. If that doesn't make sense, I'm going to break that down more in just a moment. The third principle here is we want to be able to leverage the algorithm for more visibility. I don't care if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, if you're on freaking YouTube, doesn't matter where you are, you got to leverage your algorithm for more visibility. So we've spent the last decade really optimizing Facebook. We've also had a lot of success with Instagram. And on Facebook, for example, to make the algorithm work there, you've got to be friend requesting people every day, right? You have to be inviting people to a Facebook group. You have to be going through the feed and hearting and liking people's content. You've got to be using it. You've got to send new friends a welcome message saying like, hey, first name, I hope you're having an awesome day. It's great to connect with you, right? Not trying to sell them, but like, you see what I'm saying? Facebook wants to see that you're using the platform the way they intend you to use it. And if they do, the algorithm will reward your content with more visibility, right? There's other things that you can do, but those are some of like the basic algorithm things. Instagram's very similar, right? You got to be able to do very similar tasks to that. And if you could do those things, you can leverage the algorithm, right? You can get more visibility. Now, me on YouTube, we're just now getting into the YouTube stuff. So we're starting to leverage the algorithm here on YouTube with keywords and all kinds of stuff to start getting more visibility on our videos. And you'll see here soon, we'll have a lot of views on our videos because we're starting to leverage the algorithm. Doesn't matter what platform you're on. Really important principle here. Principle number 4 is you have story, your hooks, and your call to action are the difference maker in your content. A lot of people are like, what do I talk about all the time? Well, one of the first things that we teach people inside the In-Demand Coach, which is our signature program if you're new to our world, is how to come up with their brand messaging and positioning. We work with them on getting that set up. And then we have them to come up with their content. We call it a content matrix. And it's where they essentially have their pillars of their content based right off of their brand messaging. And when they do this effectively, and in fact, I'll show you some behind the scenes really quick of how we do this so you can kind of get a baseline of this. So we walk people through this worksheet and we help them, dial in their brand messaging. And then we have this conversion content matrix to where we literally help them break their stuff down and be able to come up with a highly effective content that leads people to their programs, right? But the difference maker, so you talk about the same stuff over and over again, but the difference maker is that you constantly are coming up with better and better hooks, unique angles to your content so that people, want to engage and it captures attention, that you have great call to actions that are simple, clear, and compelling that get people to want to take more action and move to the next step with you. Whether it's commenting, whether it's sharing something, whether it's DMing you, whether it's booking a call with you, whether it's going to your sales page, whatever it is for you, right? And then the stories that you use, the metaphors that you use, the analogies that you use, right? Like at the beginning of this video, I started going into the story about how I went live for the last, for 2 years at the beginning of my online career, right? Using different metaphors and analogies throughout this training. You see, that's what makes the difference, my friend. All right. So those are the 4 principles that you have to get down to make the strategy work. So the strategy here is twofold, right? You want to do what we call content cycles. And sorry, I was trying to zoom in. So content cycles is where you're going to have 1 to 2 weeks of what we call conversion content campaigns and 1 to 2 weeks of what we call core identity content. So the conversion content campaigns, and again, I'll link up a training I did more in depth on this if you want to be able to get access and see more about how to come up with these campaigns. But conversion content campaigns is where for about a week or two, and again, I say a week or two because we have we have 20 different formulas that we teach. And we literally give to students inside the In-Demand Coach. And some of them last a week, some of them last 2 weeks, right? If you're doing this on your own, just go for 1 or 2 weeks. But where you have very strategic posts, right? You have posts that are designed to generate interest and get people to raise their hands. You have posts that are designed to connect with your audience. If you go back to the connection content, you've got posts that are designed to shift people's perspectives. If you go back to the influence content, you've got strategic lives or trainings, things like I'm doing right now, to where you're, giving more authoritative content, you're teaching at your audience. And then you have proof, right? You have proof content. And all of it, when done effectively, it will convert for you if you do it right. Okay? Core identity content, this is a whole cycle where we go for about a week in between conversion content campaigns. We go for about a week to where we're just sharing. We're sharing a bit more connection type stuff. We're sharing more like value-driven content very intentionally so that people can really have buy-in to your brand. Because when you do this effectively, people will buy into not just what you do, but who you are as a person. And when you could do that effectively and do it from a place of truth and authenticity, you're going to find that it builds a lot more brand loyalty and it actually attracts the people into your world that are going to be really good clients for you, right? And so during these content weeks, you're not focused on trying to convert, none of that stuff, right? Like this video that I'm doing right now, I have zero intention. Like I can care less if it converts anybody. If it does, awesome. Like I would love to, work with somebody that if it's a good fit, but I can care less. I'm shooting this from the heart. I'm shooting this because I care. And so in a way, I'm doing this, this is a very teach-based piece of content, but I'm doing this from a place of like, my values and just giving first and with no expectation of receiving, right? And so when you can run this type of content with no intention of conversion, just sharing your values, sharing your beliefs, sharing the things that you know are helpful to people, you're going to find that you'll get a lot more people to buy into your brand. And so when you're creating these content sequences, right, you want to understand that like your audience has to experience these two things from you, that you can help them solve their problem and that you understand them and have overcome the same or similar challenge to them, right? And so the best way, if you're like overthinking this, or because this does take practice, literally, see the in-demand coach, I'll link that up below where you can check that out. But we teach the whole process on this. But for the sake of like just getting started with this, just keep a balance of connection, influence, authority post, and some proof on your social media profiles at all times, right? Just in that order. You could just say day one connection, another day influence, another day authority, and go through it. Now, let's go ahead and go into some more strategic steps. The easiest way put is, a lot of people ask me this, Jason, do I post every day? If you're brand new, that's what I did. I just posted a lot. I posted every day. So if you're like brand new, you haven't even made $5,000 in your online business yet, yeah, I would just recommend cycling through and just getting really good, just like I did, to kind of find my voice, to hone my skills, and to develop like, that deep market to message match. So like I really knew who I was speaking to and what I wanted to speak about, because I just posted so dang much. You know what I mean? I did so many videos. I posted all of the time, right? But as soon as you're like, over that $5,000-$10,000 per month mark, like you want to get a little bit more strategic, and that's where a lot of what I'm talking about today is going to come in. So you don't need to post every day. 3-4 days a week is typically a good number of times a week to post on the majority of platforms. Obviously it's going to be dependent on where, but we'll say like Facebook or Instagram. It's plenty to post on Facebook or Instagram for success. Okay. So the steps here, when you're coming up with a content campaign, right, you want to choose a theme based around the pain or desire that your audience has. So if you're helping people with weight loss, like what's a specific pain or desire they have? Maybe it's to lose 20 pounds. Maybe it's to, what to eat. Maybe it's whatever, right? You got to think about a specific pain or desire that's based around what your audience is currently going through. And then, as I alluded to, you just choose a content pillar, right? You choose a content pillar to go off of. And then from there, you want to find like what's a magnet that you can use to attract people to you, right? And so this can be like a training that you can host, or a workshop that you can host, or a challenge you can run. It could be a simple PDF that you can come up with, or a simple grocery checklist. You just want to have some magnet that you can link to your theme of the month. Does this make sense? So it doesn't have to be complex. You just need to, you want to have something when you're creating more conversion focused content to attract people towards. Then the fourth step is you want to map out your conversion content. Again, for simplistic terms here, just you're going to want to map out a connection, influence, a coach, authority-based content, and some proof. Really, really simple, and just do your best to keep it all aligned with one theme, right? So what you don't want to do is, one day in the week talk about like mindset, and then another day in the week talk about nutrition. Like you just don't want it to be so far off. You want to keep the messaging similar for these content campaigns. Does this make sense? This way you can kind of get people to see things from different lenses and some different approaches of content. And then you want to simply time block in your calendar when you're going to be able to write this content, right? If you don't time block it, I find a lot of times people are on the fly and they try to create content on the go, and then they end up coming up with like bad content or things that aren't really, it's just super rushed, right? So you want to time block ahead of time to be able to create content. And then every single time one of your content sequences is done, once your campaigns are over, you want to be able to, and you could just set this as a weekly reminder to get in the flow of this, but just go back simply and look at your content. Say how much engagement did it get? How many comments did we get? How many views did we get on our videos? How many leads did we get from this? Right? How many calls did we book from it? If you're using a call setting process, right? How many sales did we make from it? And you just want to get to the habit of looking at your KPIs. Otherwise, what happens is you go too much off of emotion when it comes to your content. And in business as an entrepreneur, if you're relying on just emotion and not like actual data, it's a tough road, right? And so you do those things. And the biggest piece of advice that I can give to you here is commit to studying and practicing the different types of content. This is a money-making skill, right? Which, by the way, I'll go ahead and link this right below this video, where I'll share this. I have like a little graphic that has some of the different types of content. And I'll also link below this video my brand new ebook. We have a totally brand new conversion content ebook that has the top 5 posts that are responsible for over 7 figures in fitness coaching, sold organically. Like, this was no paid ad, just all organically that we have done over the years. And so I'll give that guide to you. It's gone viral already. We've given it out to now 250-ish people. If you want it as well, I'll just link it right below this video for you to be able to get the download. Okay. And so with that said, the biggest pieces of advice I can give to you right now is commit to studying and practicing the different types of content. Like, this will make you money in your business. And just understand that content sequences drive sales, right? Posting randomly, like posting and praying, is very outdated. It's just going to drive you nuts at this point. Freaking bonkers, man. It's okay to leave room for inspiration. I talk a lot about strategic content, but it's okay to leave room for some inspiration and be able to come up with things that like inspire you. It should, very much so. But a lot of times when I talk about the strategic stuff, it takes the fun out of it. So you still want to be able to talk about things like I'm doing today. Like, I love talking about this, and I'm hoping it's helpful for you as well. And it's a kind of a win-win. And make sure that you're leveraging the algorithm, right? You leverage the algorithm, as I alluded to. It's so important on the platform that you're really trying to generate leads and sales from. And then time block your content, as I said, and schedule reminders to post. Otherwise, I've just been in this game for a long time. I know a lot of people forget to post, and then they get inconsistent with their content, and that just sucks, dude, because you're not going to ever grow if you're super inconsistent. So that's what I have for you today. Again, if you want to see, I linked up some trainings below to go a little bit deeper into this, the ebook. You want to check out the in-demand coach, all that stuff's linked below. As always, remember this: your message matters now more than it ever has before. Like, people out there need to hear your message right now, so don't be afraid to speak it. Be seen, be heard, and be impactful.